Welcome back to Judgment Free Zone. We're going to do part 2 with Charise here. We just had a really great conversation. So we're actually continuing our conversation. We're just going to split up into 2 parts. This will be a much shorter part because I got something in about, an hour. So, but we did talk. We have a couple things that we want to talk about. So do you want to share anything or do you want me to do pictures first? That could be fun to get into.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let me see, because I just practiced sharing over here. Oh no. It says now. Naturally. Oh, okay. I got this. I can do this. Oh, yay! Look at us.
Look at you.
See, who's this? Who is this guy?
I remember that kid. I don't remember his name though, but he was a good kid.
I feel like maybe he was the kid in the picture with me that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Was it? Where we don't know where he came from.
I feel like he was at Sweetwater.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. But
okay.
I don't know what happened to him, but he was around for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have like a ton of pictures of me growing up. I don't know if you've seen this, but I use this picture a lot when I talk about my younger self.
Aww.
Is this one. So I try to usually crop out Santa here when I use it for me. But that's so fun. There we are. Look at us. Whoops. Apparently we're going to the next picture because I don't know what I did. But here's you guys. So this is my brother and you and your mom with Easter Bunny. Look at how funny. Wow. Look at it's we're all connected, man. It all happens for a reason. That's so interesting.
That is interesting.
Wow.
I didn't even notice that at first. I saw that picture in my little saved pictures, but I didn't realize the Easter Bunny thing. Because it's just there. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? You were just talking about that. That's a sign. That's something. You're onto something. Okay, and then this I think is just you and Aaron.
Yeah.
This is stuff. Look, Aaron Mover? Never. Aaron never wanted a bottle until Charise came to visit. Aw, look at that's so wild.
Look at my leadership skills started then.
Are you older than him?
No.
Oh, no.
I don't think so.
Okay, Charise, let me show you how it's done. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then here's you and my brother again. Oh my gosh. Look at you guys. So cute.
So cute.
And then
oh Lord.
Here's this picture. And then here's another one too of the same.
Aww.
See, I don't remember this at all.
I don't either. I do remember that day my dad was taking pictures of all us. Oh, that's the one I was looking for.
Oh, I found it. Here we are.
Yeah.
But this is so I was in high school here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember
I don't know what. Yeah, so this is Nate, me, and you. Look at that. How special. There's one specifically I'm gonna find it before I air. Because that's going to be like my picture. Because I don't have, like I said, I don't have a ton of pictures, but there's one of you and I at my bridal shower.
Aww.
And I love that picture. Yeah.
I know. I have some other ones too. I don't know. There was my mom and your mom in it. I don't know where we were at. I just remember driving there and showing up and we were there. And me and you were like, what is happening? This is so stupid. I do remember that part.
That's so funny. I don't
remember
recall.
I had like a turquoise shirt on, you had a yellow shirt on, and then
that's it. Oh. That's at my bridal shower.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And that makes sense that you were probably like, this is stupid, why are we going? Because Abby is 17.
No, it was like it was afterwards. I think a lot of people were gone or something. I don't know. We were there a really long time because our parents, like our moms, were just talking. And at some point we were like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, it was between them. Like, it was like, oh, they talk all the time or something like that.
Well, speaking of our moms, let's,
But the picture that you have, I think I love that picture. I think I know what you're talking about.
I love that picture too. Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah,
same. We love it so much that we don't know where it is.
It's somewhere.
I literally just saw it too. So I know it's like one of those things where I just can't find it at the
I
current
know.
moment when I
Well,
want to find it.
I see all these pictures of us.
Mm.
Well, I don't have a bunch, but
Well,
the
whatever
ones
you
I
find,
do
you
have,
should send them
yeah.
to me as they come.
Well, my mom
Ooh.
has a ton too. So
Oh
when I
my
go
gosh,
over
I'd
there,
love some.
I will send them or I'll share them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, please do. Yeah, yeah, my again, this is my opinion. So
Yeah.
we're just stating it out loud as we get into talking about our families.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that my brother was the favorite.
Oh,
And
same. Same.
yeah, so my brother for sure was the favorite. And you know, when my mom, because I don't know how much you know about or how much my mom and your mom talk anymore. I would assume they probably do.
Yeah.
But I haven't been no contact with my mom for, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been moments where I've talked to her because she fell, and I'm sure you know that. So she
Yeah.
fell, and my brother put her in a home, and
Yeah.
so that was rough for me
Mm.
because I had so much fear that I wouldn't be able to go through the things because my perception was my brother didn't care. And again, that's my perception that my brother didn't care and he was just going to throw everything away and he wouldn't give anything to me. And
Mm.
I have reasons to believe that there's been, patterns of things not being given back to me that are important to me. Like I've never seen Olivia took pictures of me with the twins. I've
Yeah.
never seen those baby pictures like
Oh,
to this day. Like it's
yeah.
heartbreaking and picture so and it just like was again like a wound from my mom because there's tons of pictures of my brother and there's very few of me. And
Mm.
I've always like really attached myself to pictures, like so much so when growing up, like into like my young adulthood, or even now, like Daniel doesn't do this, but like wounding from that was going through, like people would get mad at how much I took pictures or videos. But I look back now and it makes sense because
Yeah. You just
that
wanted the
I
picture.
did I just wanted to remember too, like that piece of kind of what I said in the first part that I don't remember a lot. And it's because I do remember it was just all these bad memories. So it's like I'm trying to like again, my subconscious is like trying to overcompensate and like take
Yeah.
pictures now.
Yeah.
But I was like so afraid that I wouldn't get to go through the things when my mom fell and that my brother would throw them all away. And it was like walking back into like my childhood, which was like so traumatizing because my mom, if you remember, like is a complete hoarder.
Yeah.
And going through all of that in a couple days, and Daniel's my hero. Like he went with me and we spent like 2 or 3 days like just going through everything. And I gave Aaron said that he didn't want anything, but I kept it and I gave it to my ex and said, "Hey, give it to Aaron if he wants it. He can do what he wants, but I did my part," kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like so that because I know that's what I would want done to me,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
and what I still want. So yeah, so I found some pictures and I think that's when I sent those pictures to you was when I was going through all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
Yep. So yeah,
Yeah.
short story about me on that one. But yeah, so perce- speaking of different perceptions and things, what was it like watching, my mom and your mom and your views on my mom? I'm very curious now that we're adults. We've never had this conversation.
I know. So your mom, my mom, my memories are that they were like just the best of friends. I always saw their relationship as really good, and that they cared for each other and loved each other. Um, and there was definitely like a lot of history there. So when I think about the relationship, I'm just like, I don't know, it just makes me smile. It's like almost like I really want to be friends with my friends. Well, the ones that I'm really close to, like that one, they have known each other forever, you know?
Yeah.
Let me plug in my battery. Okay. Or my part two, and it still continues.
Yeah. It's okay.
So yeah, anyway, I want to be friends with my friends that long. And my mom, like they still talk, but my mom, she goes, checks on your mom and likes taking care of her and things like that. And so when your mom did fall and all the things around that, my mom was like shed some tears. She was terrified for a while, like didn't know what was going to happen to her friend. And she's like, I've known her my entire life. Like that's my friend, you know? She's like, our kids grew up together. Like there's just a life, like a lifetime of there. So it to me is really beautiful. And I don't know, um, they did used to put each other in check a little bit too, which was kind of cute. Which I mean, it's fair. Like you want a friendship to be able to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't have any bad memories of their relationship. It was always good.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
as far as your mom, my memory of your mom. This is it. This is it. She was always really nice to me. And I just like remember her hugs and her perfume all the time.
That
And
perfume will be in my brain forever.
yeah,
It's like never, no.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think just whenever she did like come over and see us, or if you guys were with us, it's like I remember her being happy that we were all together, like the kids, and how she loved seeing us play. And like she said a lot, at least I overheard her. And at one point she was like, I just love you kids so much. And she would always be like, I'm Aunt. I mean, can I say her name? Is that okay?
Yeah. Again, I'm sure, you know.
No, are you okay if I say her name?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure
Yeah, she.
people, again, it's not like it's
Oh,
hard to figure out who my
okay.
family is, I guess,
She's
when
like,
you're on platforms like this.
yeah, she's like, I'm Aunt Lorna. And I was like, yeah, you are, of course. So I don't know. And she'd always be like, oh, Charise, it's so nice to see you. You're so beautiful. But then there was a time whenever I wasn't doing so good, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I could see like, I don't know, sadness or disappointment, but she never like really expressed that, like, oh, I'm so mad at you or whatever. I could just see it in her eyes, or, you know, how are you doing, Charise? Oh yeah, I'm good. You know, but then there's a time where I don't remember because I was doing my own thing, using and being traumatized and going through life being a partier. So, um, she definitely, that wasn't like a proud moment, but yeah, I have really good memories, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't, I know that she loves you guys. I do know that. But unfortunately, like when we get older and we realize things about our parents, we realize their love is like they know how to love how they know how to love, you know, because they have their
Yep.
own unhealed traumas and unhealed things. And so we have to look at our
Yeah.
parents like a little bit. Well, for me, that makes me look at my parents like, oh, wow, like you are coming from a place of hurt and pain. And I look at them differently. But then there's also that side of like, okay, like I'm actually tired of it. I'm tired of the way that your things are still happening. And I'm like almost this age, you know? So, um, but yeah, I do know that she loves you guys a lot. I do remember that.
Yeah, I think it's that piece too, the eyes of like you're a kid and they're your hero, right? For most of us.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and you're like, oh, you're a person. But yeah,
Yeah.
just you can only love somebody as much as you love yourself.
Right. That's true.
And so, you know, those hurts and pains, like they get transferred
Hmm.
for sure
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it makes sense to me that like you didn't see a lot. I think it's just kind of like what you said even about before about your what I heard
Hmm.
you say about your mom about behind closed doors. Like it's kind of interesting that I felt like that was very
Yeah.
similar to my experience that
Hmm.
outwardly no one would know.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. My mom, I mean, I love her, you know, I wish that our relationship could be better.
Mhm.
I personally think I'm just determined to think that it's forever going to be what it is. I mean,
Mm.
we have times where it's like really good. And then, I mean, currently right now, she's mad at me. She's not answering my
Mm.
phone, text
Mm.
messages, my instant messages. And, you know, in the story, you know, we were talking earlier about everybody's story. Like in her story, I'm forever going to be the problem. Like it's always my fault. It's
Mm.
always the way I responded, or it's always the way that I did this, or I'm not supposed to do this, or why did you talk to me like this, or how come? It's still like this space where it's like, no, I mean, I'm 38. Like, first of all, I can, like, at this point, I can have a voice, you know? So it's still like this thing of like not being able to I don't know the word. I guess like if I use my voice, or if I say something the wrong way, or if I say something she doesn't like, or if I say something that might irritate her, or if I stand up for what I think, like it doesn't matter. I'm always going to be the problem. I'm always going to be the one that starts an argument. So that's kind of like the gist of how everything went between her and I. I try my best to stay around her. I don't, there was a time where I split and I didn't talk to my family. Maybe my dad was a little bit longer than my mom, or my mom was a little bit longer than my dad, um, and it was very peaceful during that time. And it was very hard for me to grasp that I wasn't speaking to my mom. I'll just use my mom for an example, but like, that I wasn't speaking to her because of our relationship, and I chose to do that, and I needed this time to heal and like reflect and be like, what is happening? And so I went to counseling specifically for that relationship, and learned some tools, I guess, to use. And so it's kind of helped me now, but even now the tools that I use don't help. It's like I'll still forever be the problem. So, and this specific time, like right now, why we're not why she's not talking to me is because of there was a situation with one of my children, my children's schooling, and so we were going to have conversation about this, but she just didn't like basically what I said and how I stuck up for this situation, and it wasn't so much according to what she wanted. That's how I had portrayed it, right? That's what I'm seeing. That's my truth in this story, and so that's why we're not talking. And I even went back and said, "Hey, I'm sorry," because we didn't get in like to a full blown argument, and there wasn't like I try not to argue. I really try not to argue with her because I don't want to do that, right? But to her, it's like if I'm like, "Hey, mom, you're not allowed to come over to my house for one and yell at me at your age. For two, talk to me like that in front of my children. For three, like still parent me like I'm 12. Like there's boundaries and there's things that I'm gonna not put up with, and so I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, like those kind of situations. And so at that point, now it's like she doesn't want to talk because of that. So now she feels I forgot where I was going with all that, but that's kind of where we're at. So she's mad at me. Oh, because I was saying I apologize. So I told her, I apologize because I feel like I could tell that she was hurt, and maybe some things that I said very bluntly kind of hurt her, So at the end of the day, I don't want my mom to hurt. I don't want my mom's feelings to be hurt. I do want a relationship with her. And so I apologize. I said, hey, I apologize for, the little, basically I said, I apologize for earlier. And I put like a heart. And I wasn't specific, right? But I was just apologizing for like, I guess the back and forth that was present in front of the kids. And it wasn't like a screaming match, but just trying to get her to like move along, like, hey, you're not allowed to do this. But the kids were watching. Anyway, so long story short, and that the apology wasn't accepted because she's still upset. There wasn't understanding or anything like that. So that little scenario is just a little bit of what would always happen,
Yeah.
And so
I can definitely relate. That's very similar to a lot of my experiences with how my mom is, which I think is again very I don't know if you've heard the term like the scapegoat. And that's kind of like where it goes into like where I felt like my brother was the favorite was because even with my brother, it was always my fault, which my mom like had a very like victim mentality, which again I think is it's just interesting to listen to you because that is so many similar, like I could tell you the same thing that you just described for me too. So I'm sorry. That's really hard.
Yeah, I'm sorry you've experienced that too.
Yeah.
I remember I still live in the same spot, right? And I was on the other side in a different apartment. And you had come over one day and like we kind of were touching base on, I don't know if you remember that day, but
I vaguely, again, this is like during that time I didn't remember things, but I was in trauma responses like 100%. But I remember seeing you, but I don't remember like anything else.
Yeah, we started getting into some like deep conversations about childhood, and we were like, what? Like there was revelation of like, what, are you serious? No way. And so I don't remember the stories, but I do know there was like what, you were like, I can't believe you were experiencing that, or no, I would have never. Yeah, it was crazy. And I think we were waiting for my brother or something, or maybe you had just come over, but I don't know. But yeah, Anyway, but it's good that we're doing this now because
Yeah.
clearly we
What
forgot.
were we talking? Can you recall anything from that
Um,
conversation?
just childhood, yeah,
You're
and
free game to share anything on here,
well,
by the
what I
way, for me.
that's
But
okay.
if you do remember anything, because I
Yeah,
don't remember our conversation at all.
yeah. I don't remember the specifics. I know that it was about. I don't know the details. I just know there was like this aha moment of like
Hmm.
in the conversation about our childhood and
Hmm.
things that happened. It was like, oh my gosh, I can totally relate. Like, I had no idea that was happening, or oh yeah,
Hmm.
I knew that was happening, or I could see
Hmm.
why. It was kind of like just that general thing, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I wish I could remember.
That for me was like a time of healing too. When I was over
Hmm.
on the other side, it was very much so. Yeah, we remember, and it's frustrating when you can't remember things, but just a little bit like will help somehow.
Right. It was meant to be at that time that it happened that we
Yeah,
talked about it. And I think that, again, like everything we're talking about now is just as healing to be able
yeah,
to, because we're at a different stage of our healing and
yeah,
processing, right?
yeah,
So I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
So what
yeah.
is your mom's like relationship with my brain's kind of going like a couple different ways because it's it's interesting to hear your perspective. I'll go this way. To hear your perspective about their relationship. And I can see my mom behind closed doors was very negative
Hmm.
and in general, like again, very victim mentality. And it's just interesting. Like I remember her saying like there were arguments because we've said our whole lives, right? Like we're cousins, right? You even said like,
Yeah.
like you would call my mom Aunt Lorna. And that was something that was frustrating for my mom that I saw behind closed doors because it was only to an extent we were family.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember those
Yeah.
like disagreements between your mom and my mom.
I don't
And
remember.
it's really interesting for me now and I'm processing it honestly as I say it. I have carried that down for me
Oh wow.
to the loyalty piece, to the
Yeah.
family piece where I don't have family. And it's interesting because I'm, like I said, I'm processing it right now in real time that my mom didn't have family. And so you guys were her family, but it was only to a cap, right? Like we didn't come to your family events. We weren't allowed
Hmm.
to. And I
Hmm.
never understood that. And I do that now. Like
Yeah.
I attach to people who have families,
Interesting.
but always feel less than. Like I'm repeating the pattern.
Wow.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah. Hmm. That's just there. We don't need to go more into
No,
that.
I was
That's just
like,
something for me to
now,
just
now
something
I'm
for me to
trying to think.
process.
Yeah. Well, I know, like for the holidays, I don't remember. Like we would always go out to my New River to my family's out there. Birthday parties, I know we were together, but outside of that,
Yeah,
we did do like a couple Fourth of Julys. I do remember that,
I
but
don't.
you were little. You were
But
very
again, it
little.
was like major holidays is what I
Hmm.
mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it was always like, oh, you have to come at this point because you can't be a part of the family stuff.
yeah,
And I think I always didn't understand that because to me you were family and
yeah.
I felt like I was less than, like that I wasn't worthy of being there because I wasn't blood.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mhm.
Now I need to go question. I need no
It's okay.
questions.
That again, that was my like
I
my
know.
you know what I mean, like my perception of what was happening, right? Like of
Yeah.
like what well why because I remember wanting to be with you, right? Like
Yeah.
again, like I again we were together all the time. You were my family, so I'm like, well, if holidays are important and holidays are special, then why can't I be with my favorite people on my holiday because we're not really family? Like it was confusing for me
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
kid, right? Like
Mhm.
yeah. But no, for sure. I think, the thoughts of like my mom and your mom, like they clearly have been friends forever And I mean, I have my own, I think my perceptions, like you're obviously closer with your mom than I naturally and obviously am with my mom. So to me, it was always like, you guys are wild. Like, you guys need to go to therapy together.
Yeah.
My judgment, my royal, my royal shadow is like, but even with my mom, right? Like that, my mom, anytime we went to therapy, it always got pushed back on me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. There's a bubble.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I think it's just like if I went like this, sometimes like balloons will pop up too if you like go like this. I'm holding something. But sometimes like balloons on it will pop up. It's not going to. I'm just gonna like look at the screen. I'm wild right now.
That's crazy. Yeah, I do remember one time in therapy. I only remember me and my mom went to therapy together.
Mm-hmm.
And one time in the therapy session, I don't remember, we were talking about something that happened between her and I. And
Mm-hmm.
it was during a time where I was acting out a lot. So um anyway, but in this therapy session, I clearly remember the therapist saying, "Well, can you forgive your daughter? You know, like this is not," and she literally was like, "No, I can't." And the therapist was like, "Well, how is this gonna, like, she is a teenager. Like, how is this gonna help? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
give and take." He's like, I can't. And I remember going home thinking, wow, okay. And so, wow, maybe I'm just processing that right now too. That's crazy. So maybe she's still in that spot. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think she has unforgiveness because I've worked through a lot as far as healing and she's seen a lot. So there are some things that are different that shifted, but also not. Like it's still like I know how she's going to react. I know I'm forever going to be the problem. I know that I'm forever going to be blamed. I know that nothing will ever be her situation. And that's with anybody, right? It's not just me. And I've noticed it's helped me understand that it's not me, even though it feels like it sometimes, right? Like I still have to work through that stuff with my mom. Um, but when I really try to take, like right now, I have to tell myself over and over, you know what? She doesn't really have a relationship with her family, unfortunately. Like it's almost like she intentionally pushes people away, and it's always somebody else's problem. I'm not saying that things haven't been said or done to her because I've seen things and it's not fair and it makes me upset because it's my mom. But when it's her, legitimately her fault, there's a really hard time taking accountability and saying, hey, you know what? I probably did and I'm really sorry. And I literally, the only thing that I want in my lifetime from my mom is an apology. Like, and I'm fine. Like, I know that these things happen, but just recognize, like, take accountability and be like, hey, you know what I did? I'm really sorry. And I think she's done it a couple times, but not very often. And so it's wild too, because if she even heard this right now, I know that she'd be livid about this whole thing. But it is what it is because in our life, it's been like you're not allowed to speak how you actually feel. And your truth is not actually your truth. That didn't really actually happen, you know? And it's like
Oh
this.
my gosh, Charisse, you're literally speaking
Yeah.
to my soul right now. Like everything you're
Yeah.
saying, I'm not kidding. Like 99% can relate to is my
Yeah.
experience as well.
Yeah. That's probably our conversation on the couch.
Yeah, probably. But we're
Yeah.
just reliving it again
Yeah.
because healing is
Uh-huh.
happening again for
Yeah.
us right now as we
Mhm.
talk about it. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, it made me think about, for me, right? Like as you're talking, and when you were talking about that moment on the couch for therapy and how you said she couldn't forgive you. For me, I relate to that in the way is, take what you want from this. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it because I'm trying not to think about exactly how I'm saying it. It's like that's why the relationship can't go as far as it can for me too. Is
Mm-hmm.
what I always heard was, well, I did the best I could. I was a single mom.
Mm.
And that's what I heard over and over again from my mom. And then also the piece of that forgiveness. I I think my mom, for relating to your story, it's like she still pictures me as that 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old. And that's where our relationship has been stuck.
Yes. Yeah. I
Like they
think so.
still view me as that. And that's how, what I'm like hearing from you as you share your
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, for sure. If I set boundaries or if I, hey mom, I really need you to leave my bathroom right now because I don't like that you're coming over here and talking to me the way that you're talking to me. That right there is like, don't, in return is like, don't talk to me like that. Literally, don't talk to me like that. I don't know who you think you are. Well, first of all, I'm a grown woman. I'm in my own house with my own children. I'm not going to have this. And literally it was over my own kid, So it's like, and I said at one point, like, I'm not 12. Like, I pay rent here. I pay bills. These are my kids. Like, you don't get to come over here. I don't care what your relationship is, but don't come over here and do this to me, because if, and in return, if I was to go over there as a grown woman or 12 years old, whatever the case was, if I was to go to her house now and decide to just scream and yell and do whatever, I would be in this, it was like, you can't win, So, definitely, yeah, I still feel like there's viewed as like a little kid and still try to talk to me like I'm a little kid, on both sides sometimes,
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, props to you if that's what you feel, like you're working through that and still having that relationship, because that's ultimately what you're saying is what led me to cut ties. Because for me, it was like every boundary I set, it wasn't. The boundary was crossed every time. And it's like, if there's going to be no mutual respect in the boundary, like, I'm not going to keep putting myself in this position. And that was what led me to my last conversation with her, is when she was in the home. And this is where I like completely cut ties, was when she got put in the home, she had knots in the back of her hair. And like, because they weren't brushing it, or she wasn't brushing it, or whatever was happening, I spent 2 hours brushing it out, and Daniel was with me, and she put me down the whole 2 hours. And Daniel was there, and Daniel finally was like, I'm done listening to you talk to my wife this way. We're leaving.
Wow.
And that was pretty much the last time. Because again, it's almost like, when I say about the brother, like, our brothers being the favorite, it's deeper than that. What I've started to notice as I like heal, it's men. Like, she spoke highly even to my husband, who she didn't even know. She's met Daniel twice, and he was like a god to her because he was a man. So I don't know if you see those things too, or that's just, yeah. But
I didn't, but now I'm like, interesting.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you sharing your stories with me.
Yeah, you too. So my brother left. I mean, he left because he was with his first wife. They weren't married, but he went to California, and I know part of it was because he went with her, but I think leaving and staying away has been really good in a way for him. But it's really painful because I don't have my brother, and that's probably where I'll cry. Right. Because I don't have my brother, and I spent like my whole life growing up without him, and I miss him a lot. And so we've talked about conversations about like childhood and things like that, but it's being a parent is super hard. And being a parent trying to work through trauma is super hard, but when you don't work through it, it causes generational things, And so my brother leaving is the result of his own trauma, and like, he doesn't want to come back here and deal with this stuff. And he comes back, and he handles things pretty well. Like, he's got boundaries and things like that. But there are times where like his own trauma still reacts when he comes here, and then it's like just chaos. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, when does this end? So I miss my brother a lot. I miss, we text when we can, we talk when we can, but like, my kids like grew up without their uncle, So that's been really hard. So the part of like, I guess my parents' reactions and things that they've done have pushed my brother, and I've stayed here because I am a single mom, so I can't just get up and leave. And I mean, I could, it's not that I can't, but
I relate. I get you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're a parent, you're a little bit different, but
yeah.
But now it's like, I'm to the point where it's like, I do want my parents in my life, but there are times where I'm like, I need a mental break. I can't do this. Because if this is just constantly like, I'm always trying to grow and heal and learn, because that's what I like to do. But if I'm constantly having
Same.
the same things like at me and at me and at me, it's like I'm trying to move this way, but you're still, it's like a tug and war. And so sometimes I just need like complete silence. So the fact that my mom's not talking to me right now is okay, whatever. She's mad, but it's silence, you know? But I'm saying all that because I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, but my brother, he left, so he doesn't have the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you know? He's there and he lives with his wife and sometimes I can't imagine what my brother's feeling because then there's the pain of not having his family, like me and the kids, you know, and things like that. And yeah, I don't know. I really, now at this age, I really want to honor my mom and my dad. And I try really hard to honor them, but it's really difficult because it feels like it's just not good enough. You know, like nothing's good enough, you know? And it's crazy because I've really had to watch this not transfer into my kids. My two younger ones, I think I'm pretty good at making sure that I don't repeat things. But I can't say that didn't happen with Cameron, with my oldest. Um, you know, and I'm not saying that I did things like my mom because I have refused to try to always do things like my mom. I've taken the good things from my mom and I've taken the good things from my dad, you know. But my older son did have a lot of like behavioral stuff, legit. Like he had caseworkers and things like that and trouble in school and um stuff like that. But there was a couple times like in my reactions that I thought that wasn't like my mom, but that was like my mom. And I'm like, I refuse to do this. And so currently mine and his relationship are a little bit strained. So it's like a generational. I didn't whatever his truth is about what happened at home, you know, and how parenting happened is his truth. And I have my truth about what happened between, like, with his behavioral stuff. But I guess what I'm saying is that, like, it only became like, what my reactions with him, I noticed that sometimes I was reacting like how my mom would react, not like blaming him and like everything's his fault because that's not true. But I guess in just like if I found out something, I would like my first thing was like to react instead of being like, wait a minute, like let me just take a moment. I don't have to react like right away, you know? And so that's where I think that I could have done better with him as far as like not making sure that that transferred down. But there was also this thing with my parents, right? Like, because my older son had a lot of things like caseworkers and behavioral stuff and school calling and his own trauma from dad not being there, there was things that I knew as a parent that I second guessed as a parent. But my family was like in my ear about how wrong I was as a parent. So not only did it happen as a child, but then I became like a young woman and all my decisions were like, I felt from my mother specifically, that they were all wrong. And now I'm an adult and a parent and nothing is good enough. And, you know, it's the same, it's just like a cycle. But
That's that trauma. That's those beliefs that are created from 1 to 18. And now they're just subconsciously looking for evidence. And if we're living in that space over and over again, it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah. So it's like, so then, you know, now it transferred to my parenting. And I used to have to not only like stick up for my child, as far as like making sure that he got the care that he needed. And I'm not saying for me, but like from when you have kids with IEPs or like behavioral stuff or like school things, like it was constant.
Yeah.
So making sure that he was not like a number in the system as far as like a statistic, like making sure that I backed him up, but also making sure that he couldn't do what he need, like he couldn't just act out however he wanted at home. Like he still had to be a respectful human being and making sure that I knew how to parent him that way and not look at it like his trauma instead of like, I'm just going to act like my mom and parent him that way. But my mom would like be in my brain and my ear about, oh, that's wrong. That's not what you should do. So then that like transferred into my parenting with my older one. And so currently I'm saying all that because currently like that's, I think a lot where, my frustration is with my parents. And,
Mhm.
as when my dad ended up moving back to Arizona, he did a lot. Like, he did try to help a lot, and he did
Mhm.
wonderful things. But there were some
Yeah.
situations where, of course, he didn't handle it correctly, but nobody agreed. Like, they didn't agree with how I would do things with Cameron a lot of times. And
Yeah.
so it's almost like this stepping stone of, like, it just never, like, as a kid, I was always wrong. As a teenager, I'm always wrong. As an adult, I'm always wrong. And now as a mother, I'm always wrong. Like, when do you look at yourself and be like, wow, what is wrong within me that now my daughter's a mom and everything that she's doing is not correct. Like, it's just constant. It's crazy.
Yeah. What you're saying is I think a great segue, because I know we don't have as much time
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we would want to continue this
Yeah.
conversation. I
That's,
think what I want to say is that piece of like the generational cycle stopping and everything, something that
yeah.
I constantly am saying to my clients, which I hold completely dear to myself too, with breaking that, is that piece of accountability. What we're talking about is
Mhm.
how the stuff that and tell me if I'm wrong, when I hear that like deep heartache of like Cameron and your relationship, and how I kind of hear like that similarity between you and your mom. I want you to know that my belief is the power of that you're going to be able to sit there, and that's how you're going to change and stop the cycle with Sorry, am I allowed to say that? Did you
Yeah.
say him's name? Okay.
I did.
Stop the cycle with Cameron is that you didn't get from your mom the sorry that you needed to hear to know that you are enough, even
Yeah.
with your mistakes, and that you're going to be able to sit with Cameron and go, I messed up.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And that's the change, though. That's it right there. That's you breaking it, is being able to sit in that space with him and hold it. Because if we're not in shame, if we're in shame, we have no room for empathy. And now he's going to be able to sit there and go, wow, mom, you just owned your piece.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So me and Cameron have had, like, when he's just not at home now, like, he's
Yeah, yeah,
older, like, he's got
yeah,
his
yeah.
own place and he's working and stuff like that. He's doing good, but um he, like, before he left home, and even like if we've gone to lunch or something, like, we have talked about a relationship, and I have apologized, like, hey, Cameron, in conversation about our relationship, like, let's look at what happened when you were at home, and, like, let's look at all these
Mhm.
things. And I did say, because he's working through his own trauma, like, the reason he's
Right.
not in communication now is because he's got a lot of hurt from his own dad,
Mm. Yeah.
and then he's dating this girl that's a whole
Just a moment of
that needs
deep breath for
that needs
that.
yeah, that needs breath work on its own, which is why he's not talking to us, because that's a whole nother situation, right? But
Mm.
it's but I have sat with him and was like, hey, you know what,
Mm.
Cameron? This is exactly what I said. I was a single mom, and I was like, I tried. I'm not laughing, but I tried my best. And then in that moment, I was like, you know what? That's not going to be good enough. And so I
Mm.
said, I tried my best with what I had. And what I mean by that, son, is when I had you, I was so young and I was full of just trauma. And then I have this beautiful baby in front of me, and I'm like, how am I supposed to care for this beautiful baby and be like my own person, as far as like working through the trauma. So I said, I had to grow with you. I had to literally grow up with you. And so I did some things, not some things. I might have like reacted. Like, my reaction might have been all that I knew how to do because of what I knew how to do because of what I was learned, or because of I was in flight or fight mode, So anyway, so I would explain a little bit to him, and he listened, but I did say, so, I'm really sorry. I love you. And if there is any hurt, if you have anything, I don't care if you think it's going to hurt me to my core, we need to talk, because that's going to release you from healing,
Mhm.
and just know that
That's
I'm
the shift, though. That's the difference between
yeah,
what I'm saying my mom did and you, because I
yeah,
kind of heard that is
yeah,
it's not taking it's just saying, oh, I was a single mom. Like, that's the difference with what I
yeah,
hear from you is like, no, like, I don't want to hear like from my mom for me. I don't want
yeah,
to hear from my mom for me, oh, I did the best that I could. I was a single mom. I want to go, hey, if I would have known differently,
Yeah.
I would have done something different.
Yeah.
That's what I need to hear. I need to hear how I treated you was wrong.
Yeah.
Your experience, it's valid. Do you know the
Yeah.
difference of, can you imagine if your mom said that to you too?
Yeah.
Right? And
Just,
that's the generational shift is I know I'm not gonna pass that down for me. I'm
yeah.
gonna sit there the times that I knew, or the moments where I have had when I was homeless and Adeline was the older one and knew that I was gone. I've had to have those hard conversations with Adeline. Why weren't you there? And she's 12. Where were you, Mom? I didn't have anywhere to live and it wasn't okay. And
Yeah.
I wasn't there for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think all parents should do that, whether you're a single parent or not. Like, it doesn't,
Yeah.
if you're a parent, there is a humbleness in going before your children and saying, I'm sorry I messed up. Like, because they see us as parents, like, oh, that's mom. Mom is supposed to do everything. Well, yeah, but I'm also human and I'm gonna literally
But
screw
it
up.
gives them opportunity to screw up.
Yeah.
If we literally show that we're perfect or that we never messed up or take accountability for that, then why would they think that they can?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I didn't want, so when I did mess up, and this is funny because when my parents were like putting stuff in my head, or trying to anyway, right? About this is what you should do, blah, 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 all that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like I said, you know what? You don't get to tell me this. When I mess up, I literally go before my children. I will cry. I don't care. I will,
Same.
that's not what you do. So don't, like, you can't even give me a sorry. And I would, if I just got, hey, you know what? I messed up. I'm sorry. I'd be like, all right, cool. We're best friends. All right. I love you.
Yeah.
Like, is that simple for me?
Yeah, no, I feel you. It really is. Like but again, it's just the repetitiveness of like when we're in shame though, we can't
Yeah.
sit with it because if we can't give ourselves self-compassion, oh, there it is again. Then how can I sit with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Because I want to make sure this was so good. I'm like over here.
We have to have a part 3 and a 4 and a 5.
Oh my gosh, I know. We're just gonna keep it going. All right. So, but I have a call in 5 minutes, so I want to make sure. But tell me, what are some key takeaways that you feel like you've taken from this conversation together? Like the 2 parts.
Oh, wow. This is it's an on the spot question. Definitely just continue healing. Healing's beautiful. I think that this has helped me realize some things that maybe I didn't see, like the whole it's a man, like the favoritism thing, whether it's really there on my side or not, like, but there's definitely something like that whole man, like it's not me, it's a man thing, you know? That's very interesting. I'm gonna go process that with my own side here. Yeah, I guess just breath work and healing and being in the space, really just sitting with everything, honestly, like accountability and forgiveness and growth and healing, working through all that. It says a lot, but it's beautiful.
It is. Really I appreciate beautiful. You so much for being as vulnerable as you did and all the things that, I try to make this podcast stand for, what I stand for ultimately. And, I still look up to you and I still, our journeys are different and similar. And I love that our relationship continues to be there and that it's what those things say that you see that like, it just picks up like that.
Yeah.
With literally as long as it's been. So I appreciate you so much coming on and sharing your stories and even processing again in real time with me things that are happening right now is just courageous and brave. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I think we all just need to realize we're human. Like there's not, we've been learned to be like this, like a shape, but we are human and we're real and we're raw and we're allowed to be that.
Yep, I agree. Any last words?
Hashtag Brittany.
Hashtag Brittany Johnson. Yes.
And Brittany Johnson. Yeah. And I would love to come on again if you ever need somebody. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.